Are we buying low? Sure. Is that really what we're doing? Mainly, I just want to tell you who sucks and who's going to get better. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and straight after this we'll move into the Smile Time Variety Hour. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets. To use across the app, head to fanduel.com to get started. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We're free. We're available on all platforms, and we are part of the number one sports podcast network, the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day, and it's your number one sports podcast network every day as well. Thumb it up, get us to 100K, and I'll show you my big nickname show. We're talking buy lows. Do you want me to do it? Shall I tell you again, just in case? Because it happens every week. No one is buying low. No one can buy low in this player. You can't buy low in what league? Lol, Tucker. Cool. Don't care. I don't care. These are players I believe currently are underperforming. Can you buy them low? Maybe. Maybe not. Can you try? Of course. Do you have to try? No. If you've got them, should you be worried? Probably not, even though it's not great. But I think there's going to be improvement. We're going to talk about why they might be sucking, why they might be struggling, why it is worth considering buying low, why it is worth having patience. That is what all this is about, I believe. That's how I view these shows. I'm not holding your hand to tell you, trade this player for this player right now, it will work, I'm guaranteed, and you will get it. That's not how any of it works. We're just talking about some guys who are struggling. Why they are struggling? We're not always going to get them right, and they're not always going to turn immediately. And we'll talk about that right now. I actually might as well just get into it, because we can get in and have a look at the results of the Buy Low show from 2 weeks ago. I think what I'll do also this season, we'll see, but if I remember it, at the end of the year, go back and look at all of the Buy Lows and look at the production of the players after the Buy Low from a month after or 2 months after to see how it all played out. Now, it doesn't always work that way. But you'll see with some of these ones here that some of them work out really well. Even my mate, the GOAT, the real GOAT, Nikola Vucevic, like even the GOAT can have slumps. When we did this 2 weeks ago, Vooch was on my buy low list. And I know, because you think that I'm a hater. You think that I get Vooch wrong every year, which, again, I don't. I was wrong on Vooch last season. I was not in the year prior, and I am not currently at the moment, because Vooch over the last 2 weeks is the 82nd ranked player. But that's an improvement, because the 2 weeks prior to that, he was 128th. Again, I still think there's a little bit of room for Vooch to improve from here, but he is not a top 20 player, or a top 30 player, or probably even a top 40 player. He's a guy between 50 and 75. But he did improve from 128 to 82nd. This one was wrong. Zach LaVine somehow got worse. I don't know how that's possible, but he's 144th. And since then, he's 177th. I firmly believe that LaVine is better than that. But I also firmly believe that LaVine was never close to what his ADP was heading into the season. But he's better than this. The big fella, Mark Williams, did not. But he did improve. He went from 96th to 47th. He can be a top 30 player playing 30 minutes a night. The problem is going to be back-to-backs. Now, at this point, honestly, I'm not 100% convinced he's going to sit every back-to-back. I'm like 90%, but I'm not 100%. But we saw the per-game numbers improve. Great. Porzingis, yeah, it's annoying, man. Like, he's missing games through illness. But what we like to talk about, we talk narrative stuff, we can talk availability stuff, and we'll talk about some of that on today's show. But even his per-game numbers were down. And since we did that show, from 82nd, he's gone to 22nd. That's more like it. That's bang on. That's why you take a chance on Porzingis in the 50s or whatever it is in a draft, because you can get top 25 numbers. And the last one absolutely did not work out. The chicken, Cedric Howard. He was 82nd. He was 115th. And I said, I think he can get better than that. I think I just might be wrong on him in a big way. He's 231st since then. And I had a lot of skepticism about Coward when he had that early season run. And again, I got killed for that too. And then I said, all right, maybe he's going to be good. Maybe he's not. I actually think he might be a drop in certain situations. So that one didn't work out. The others did. And I think there's more of that to come. I hope there is anyway. Who's the first guy on the buy low today? We're going to dance. We're going to dance delicately because we're going to talk about the delicate dancer. Alperen Sengun in Houston. Now, what is going on with Sengun at the moment? Well, it was a very weird start to the season from Sengun. And by start to the season, I mean the first game where he attempted like 45 three-pointers in the first game. He didn't, but he did attempt a lot of them. And we're, is he banging in threes now? And I guess you could say, yeah, he was. But at the moment, he is not. He is the 69th ranked player over the last 2 weeks, and that's using Durant. If you use standard 9-cat rankings, which you shouldn't, he's like 100th. He's averaging just 37 fantasy points. I think he's a 48 fantasy point guy. Maybe that's a little high. But you look at his numbers, you go, why? He's averaging 21 points a game, Josh. That's true. But the other stuff is down. He's only hitting 0.4 threes per game. Now, again, you'd say that's whatever. Why do I care, Josh? He hit 0.5 last season. He's at 1.1 this season. And the shooting is just down. He's a 40% three-point shooter for the season. Again, I don't trust that number at all. But he's down to 20% on 2 attempts per game. So we've got a 33% drop in his attempt rate, and they're just not going in. And we can chuck many other things there. He's averaging 9 rebounds a game for the season. He's down to 6 over the last 5 games, which is weird because Steven Adams hasn't been starting as much. So where are Sengun's rebounds gone? His assists are down. He said, what? They're 5.8. Yeah, this is 6.9 for the season. His blocks are down. Is he a good shot blocker? No. But he's at 0.8 for the season, so he's half that number. So even though these numbers aren't big, like his 3-point numbers and his block numbers, he's doing like half of them. And all of that adds up. All of it does. Hitting 20% on threes. He's also not getting to the line anymore as much. He's at almost 7 attempts per game for the season, down to 5.4. Nearly every single category for Sengun is down. 3-pointers made. Rebounds down by a huge amount. Assists are down. Steals are down. Blocks are down. The only thing that's up for him over this period versus the rest of the season numbers is his field goal percentage. Free throw percentage down. 3-point percentage down. His 2-pointers are up, and they were well down last season, but he's back in line with what he's done in previous seasons. So I feel okay about that holding. So how should you view Sengun? I think you view him as a second-round player pretty easily. The tough thing with buying low on a Sengun is that the person that drafted him, you probably ignored 9-cat rankings. Because if they didn't ignore 9-cat rankings and took him in the second round, then I think something's wrong with their eyes or their brain. Because they would have seen 9-cat rankings for Sengun from last season and said that he was the 92nd ranked player. And said, yes, I will take the player at pick 20. Like, that means there's something wrong with your brain, obviously. So that's what does make it hard. But it's not only that his 9-cat rankings are off at the moment, it's all of his rankings that are off. Because everything is just falling apart. And I do not believe that that is an ongoing thing. I don't believe that Sengun is going to be a 6-rebound player. I don't believe that he's shooting 20% from 3. I don't believe he's shooting 40%, but I believe he's shooting 20%. I don't believe he's at under half a block a game. Just every one of these ones. And when we've got so many of them stacked up, threes, rebounds, steals, blocks, free throw attempts, 3-point attempts, 3-point percentage. When all of those stack up, you only need a couple of them to hit to turn it around. So what is a buy low trade for him? Again, it's about negotiation. I can't tell you how to talk to your mates. I've got no idea how to talk to them. Insult them, rub their back, give them a bit of a fluff up. I don't know. I don't know how to talk to your mates. You know your league. You figure it out. But you come in and the general rule is, if you think, and I think Sengun is a top 15 player, and he's currently outside the top 60, he's close to 70. Right? If I think he's a top 15 player, and he's currently outside the top 70, I give up a top 35 guy. I sort of hit the middle and then work out where I want to go. I don't give up a top 20 player. That's useless. I don't give a top 70 guy. That's insulting. I try to hit the middle somewhere. Or you give 2 top 40 players to get him. Or 2 top 50 players, or whatever it is. But the main thing that I want to look at with Sengun here, it's not about who you trade away. It's not about how you negotiate it. It's about how many different things here are just going wrong all at the same time, and what's my confidence level that they all start to improve. It's pretty high. Therefore, to me, Sengun's a pretty obvious, I think, a pretty obvious buy low player. And if you've got Sengun, you'll be all right. I think you'll be fine. This stuff is going to improve. I'm pretty confident in that. We have got 5 more names to talk about, including someone from my beloved Toronto Raptors. But today's episode, it is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play, and suddenly everything feels different. And that's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. And live betting is best when you see a game start to shift. A receiver you start seeing getting hot, or a defense that starts clamping down on the offense, or you see a turnover so the momentum starts to flip, a score's going to happen. You can place those live bets reacting in the moment. They have live spreads and money lines that adjust immediately. Player props updates as soon as guys heat up as well. You can bet on next touchdown scorers, drive results, totals, and more. So, if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, check out FanDuel. And you go check out FanDuel right now. Have a look at things like the odds for the NBA Cup winner as well. The Lakers are second favorite behind the Thunder. It's the Thunder at minus 125. I think they were minus 150 yesterday. Then the Lakers, the Magic, the Knicks, and our Raptors, who sit at plus 1,200. Probably not going to win it, but you never know. And anything's possible with FanDuel. So, go to FanDuel.com, place your live bets for the NFL and the NBA all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you, and don't forget to gamble responsibly. We're here, part of the #1 sports podcast network in the world, in the universe, in the cosmos, as we look at buy low options, guys that are struggling, guys that are underperforming. I call it buy low because that's what people want to see. You want to see buy low, you want to hear trades, but realistically, that's not what it is. It sort of is, but it also isn't. It's about just who's struggling. And Shaedon Sharpe is struggling. It has not been good for Shaedon Sharpe, and I've already seen it. And I know that some of you don't believe this. You think that I invent characters, I invent comments, I invent talking points. But I don't, because the amount of times I'll then have someone come to me and go, Josh, I thought you used to make up these things that people said, but I saw it for real now. People are telling me I'm dropping Shaedon Sharpe, I just can't anymore. Can't you? You can. I mean, you absolutely can. You can deal with it. It's been terrible. There is absolutely no debate that Shaedon Sharpe, of late, has been dreadful. But you know what of late is? 2 games. 2 games. 2. But the reason I'm including him here is because of how people are reacting. Now, the last 2 weeks of action, which is what I base this on, is not just those 2 games. It is an extra one, which was really good, which actually bumps these numbers even further. But I've got him as a top 80 player rest of season. He's 227th over the last 2 weeks. He's averaging 22 fantasy points. But the #1 thing I want you to look at is he's averaging 24 minutes a game. Do you firmly believe that Shaedon Sharpe is going to be playing fewer minutes than C.D. Sissoko or Chris Murray? If you do, this might not be the game for you. Like, he's just not going to do that. What else is happening with him? Oh, he's hitting just a casual 8% from 3. 8. Yeah, that seems a likely number. Yeah, real likely. 61% from the line. 2 assists. 0.7 steals. These are all horrendous numbers. Horrendous. I could look at his season-long numbers and also tell you, bro, this guy stinks. He's at 25% from 3 for the season. So not only if I look at what's happened the last 2 weeks and go, yeah, well, come on. I can look at his season-long numbers and go, look, he's going to do more than this. Despite shooting 25% from 3, the big fella's averaging 21 points a game. Part of the problem with Sharpe is, though, that he just doesn't do a huge amount else. And there is going to be something interesting happen when Scoot eventually comes back, But we're not there yet. The games before Sharpe got injured this second time, he had, in the 5 games previous, 31, 3-1, 35, 5-3 with 2 steals, 19, 8-3 with a 1-1, 36, 4-6 with 3 threes, and 29, 2-3 with a steal. You know what they are? Bloody excellent. And then he came back, played 22 minutes, had 11-5, and then he had 7-1 yesterday. And people are annoyed. He missed all this time. Is he going to be off the bench? Is he going to be this bad? No. But they're annoyed. 2 games, and they're annoyed. If anyone drops Shaedon Sharpe, A, I don't even want you to subscribe to this channel. But B, you go and add him immediately. That's done. I don't know how people with Sharpe are feeling. They can obviously look at his 9-cat season-long numbers and be annoyed, and they will. And they'll see that his ranking is so low and it's so bad, and he's not that good. And I think there are problems with his game. Absolutely there are, right? But it's very easy to run into a scenario here and go, well, it's just Thiago Splitter doesn't like him. He's going to play in these limited minutes. And I just don't think that's true. All you have to do is look at the games before he got that calf strain issue. And yeah, he's coming off the bench. This to me is such an easy buy low. Who are your worst 2 players? Who are your 3 worst players? Send them. Send them. There's no way it stays this bad. Like, none. I'd send a top 100 player for him without too much concern. Like, over the last 2 weeks, bro's the 356th ranked player in 9-cat leagues. And no one believes he's that bad, obviously. But I'm not exaggerating when I've seen already comments talking about how bad he is and maybe it stays this way and I can't with him, I've got to drop him. That's when if you see it, act. If I see it multiple times, I'll tell you. Because if I see it multiple times, that doesn't mean that 2 people in the entire world feel that. It means with my vast resources, I don't, but I do have a bunch of people that follow and watch and interact with me, that you can extrapolate that stuff out. So you try it. You capitalize on the frustration, especially if that player A has other injured players and B is in the bottom half of the standings. Top half of the standings, almost impossible to get a buy low with those guys. They'll be like, hey, what do I care? I'll just wait. Most of the time, unless they're impatient. But usually they're not going to be. Just throw a top 100 guy out at him. These minutes aren't going to stick. But even if it does, he's not going to shoot 8%. He's not going to shoot 61 from the line. He's probably not going to have 2 assists and 0.7 steals. He might have 3 assists and 1.1 steals, but they can increase. He's not going to hit 0.3 threes a game. For as brain dead as his play can be sometimes, for as annoying as his defense can be sometimes, it's not this bad. It's not going to be this bad. Is it going to be as bad as the next guy who is struggling, but also maybe not struggling as much as you think that he's struggling, and that is Matas Buzelis. Buzelis, admittedly, I was pretty high on him. First mock draft of the season, I had him at about 80. And then that was like, hey, what's going on there? And then I went, maybe it's a little high, but I liked him in that area. Now, towards the end of draft season, he started coming in way too high. He had a really good preseason. He started coming in at like 60s and 55. And maybe too high. But I loved him in the 80s and 70s. No problem. Loved him there. And he's been not really close to it. I've actually adjusted my projections back on him. I don't know that he's a top 100 player rest of the season. Barely, but I don't know that he is. He's averaging just 24 fantasy points a game over the last 2 weeks. He's the 180th ranked player. He's averaging under 10 points per game. And it is very clear at this point in the season that Billy Donovan is frustrated because out of all of the players on this team, he is the one that when a mistake occurs, he gets jerked. Vooch can make every defensive mistake in the book, stays on the court. Giddey can give up whatever he wants defensively, he stays out there. Patrick Williams can do absolutely nothing, he still gets minutes somehow. Buzelis makes a mistake, bench for the entire quarter. And I guess there's a teaching part of that or whatever it is. And at some point I think it will correct. But at the moment, it's bad. And one of the ways, again, that we like to look at this stuff with buy lows is you can look at the minutes and you can say, well, they're a little bit down at the moment. Right? You can look at the way that he's playing 26 minutes a night over his last 7 games. That's very low. We can look at Billy Donovan limiting his playing time consistently, right? That's happening a lot. But also, he's averaging 0.4 steals per game. Very low. That's Anthony Simons' numbers. He's hitting 69% from the line. He's at 80 for the season. He was at 82 last season. He was at 80 or 79 in preseason. I think high 70s is realistic, not 69. He's at 26% from 3. He's at 35 for the season. He was at 36 last season. He was at 39 in preseason. So pretty confident that's going to bounce back up. His true shooting is at 50%. Horrendous numbers. Disgusting numbers. I'm not expecting him to be a big assist guy. He's at 1.5 for the year. His block numbers are pretty good. He's actually 2 blocks a game over his last 7. At 5 rebounds a game in 26 minutes. He's not a great rebounder, and I hope that can get better, but it's not great at the moment. It really is. He just cannot hit shots. It's costing him probably 4 to 5 minutes per game. The steals aren't there, and that's it. Easy. People will drop Buzelis. Not everywhere, but they will in some spots. And much like with Shaedon Sharpe, throw your worst 3 players at him. I don't think he's going to have a top 50 rest of season. I think he'll have a top 50 stretch. I think he'll have multiple top 75 stretches. And while I do have him like 107th rest of season, I think that can easily become top 80 at some point. I think this is just relatively straightforward, that for as much as he is frustrating, for as much as Donovan is frustrating us, just like hit shots like a normal person, and then you won't be as frustrating for Billy, and just add 2 minutes on. And then not only go from being a dreadful shooter to a average shooter, and then go from an average shooter to having a stretch of being a good shooter, and then we're flying. The blocks are fine, the rebounds are fine, the assists are fine, it's all in line. Just can't shoot. And that's impacting minutes. Stop making mistakes, hit some shots, bang, we're off. Pretty confident in this. I know it's been really tough. But I'm pretty confident in this. Mate, there is still an outside shot that, say, when you get to fantasy playoffs, he rolls top 70. That is a distinct possibility. I'm not going to tell you to expect it or to trade for that, but I'm pretty confident that these sort of numbers aren't really the reality of what he's going to do. We've got 3 more names to get to. Today's episode, though, is brought to you by Prize Picks. The holiday season. There's so much sport going on. Bowl games, the NBA, playoff pushes in the NFL. It is exciting. You're home, you're off from work, you're watching the games, you're enjoying all of the sports. And, you can also, if you are so inclined, when you make choices in life, you don't always get an opportunity to, make the right call. But on Prize Picks, you can, and it's fun to do it. Prize Picks is the easiest way to get in on daily fantasy. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, lock it into your lineup, and you're in the game. It's simple, it's fast, and it's available in 45 states. Those other 5 states, losers. The 45 states includes California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. Prize Picks also has an extra feature. They got the stacks feature where you can use up to 3 individual stat projections from one singular player. Passing touchdowns, passing yards, rushing yards from the same dude. Add them into that lineup, more or less, bang, lock it in, off you go. You could do fantasy score, field goals attempted, free throws made, turnovers. Whatever sort of stats you want are available to use on Prize Picks. So download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. The code is LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. We're doing buy lows. We're looking at players who are struggling, who are underperforming, why they're underperforming, is it obvious why they're underperforming, and how that underperformance can be turned into an overperformance or just a performance. And this is where we get to one where I don't know how this one's going to look. Because we're talking about the passport legend, Jalen Duren, who was an absolute beast to begin the season. I was almost going to include Nick Claxton on this list as well, who's had a very similar trajectory to Duren this year. But Jalen Duren is struggling. Over the last 2 weeks, he is ranked 59th. And you'll say, Josh, maybe you won't say this, but you might. 59th, that's sort of where I drafted him. Now, I'll be honest with you, right? I had Duren lower than that in the pre-draft process, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be wrong on him this season. Pretty sure. Although, if he stays at 59th and maybe gets worse, then obviously I'm not. But I think I'm going to be wrong on him. And so far I have been. And I've adjusted my projections up to make him a top 40 player rest of season. I think he can get to 40 fantasy points. What is actually going on with him at the moment? Because it hasn't been very good. And the thing about it is like, you can look at his numbers over the last 6 games. He's averaging 19.8 points. And you go, okay, so who cares? He's averaging 19.5 for the season. That's bang on. His rebounds, the same. His assists are actually up over the last 2 weeks. So what is dragging him down over this time frame? What is making him look worse than what we think he is? And honestly, there are a couple of things. And this is where sometimes it gets hidden because you go, like, Josh, he's a 19 and 12 guy averaging 20 and 11 and a half. That's literally exactly the same. It is, you're right, but his steals are cut in half. He was a 0.9 steals guy. He's at 0.5. He was at 0.7 last season in 26 minutes, and he's at 30 minutes a game this season. So he should be able to do that and do more. His blocks are down from 1.1 to 0.8. Again, these are not big things, and they are so incredibly easy to improve. Do you know what it takes for him to get those block numbers back? 1 block per week, not per game, per week. 1 block extra per week, and you're there. The steals, to go from 0.5 to 0.9, well, it's about 2 steals per week. It might even be 1 steal per week, depending on the week, to get you there. Per week, per 90 minutes. 1 block per 90 minutes. 1 block per 120 minutes, or whatever, however you want to phrase it, depending on how many games are played that week. The other thing is that we said, Jalen Duren, man, he has improved his shooting out of sight. I don't know what we do with his free throws, because this is his career free throw numbers. 61 as a rookie, 79 in year 2. You go, okay, hang on, we're in here. And then 67 last season. Now he's at 76 this season, but over the last 6 games, he's down to 70. So I don't really know where he's at with that, and I'm not going to put huge stock in it. I do think the free throws do improve and we get back to mid to high 70s. Another thing that hasn't changed, which again, I think you thought there might have been a concern with that with Ivy returning, is his usage is similar. 23 usage for the season. 23 usage over the last 2 weeks. Now it is down to 21 over the last 3 games, and that is with Ivy back, so just watch that. But mainly it's just like the steals and the blocks are just down marginally. But because these things are such low volume categories, that's all it takes for him to seem worse, for him to be ranked worse. And I don't want you to ever, and I know I'm referencing ranking numbers a lot, but I don't want you to be absolutely just adhered to what a ranking number is. Look at the individual categories. Look at the individual stats. Understand how small changes can create big differences and big gaps in what a ranking shows itself as. So to me, and again, sometimes some of this is vibe. It's like, I think if most people talked about Jalen Duren, you'd say, man, what a season. He's been so good to start the year. He's been killing it. My most improved player. He's been so good all-star. And then if you asked again now, they'd be like, yeah, he's struggling a little bit at the moment. But it's not, the difference is not that big. But it's enough to change the vibe perception. It's enough to kick your brain into going, I remember Jalen Duren from past seasons. He's not as good as he was to begin this season. So maybe this is more the new norm. And maybe it is. But it's not going to take much to flip it back. He averaged 26 minutes a game last season. He's at 30 this season. That should be your number one. Like, I think we're good. I don't think he's last season's guy. I think we're flipping this stuff back around. But again, there is vibes. And I think, again, if you have Jalen Duren, you will admit yourself, you go, yeah, it just hasn't quite been as good. And maybe you can't put your finger on it. So what do? How do you get a Duren guy, or a Duren guy? I mean, a Duren guy, as in Duren, in a trade? Top 50 player is what I would send to get him. And feel a level of confidence, even though I didn't feel this to begin the season. I have changed my tune. And I was wrong. I would throw a top 50 player at him and expect him to be a top, let's say, 36 guy rest of season. It's a narrow margin, but I do think that he can get there. Let's talk about the next guy. And this man featured on the Sell High show early in the season. It is the double royal, Julius Randle. And these are ones where, again, it is important to always have context. It is very possible for someone to be a buy low, and then a sell high, and then a buy low, and then a sell high, and then a buy low like 8 times during the year. You're working, it's a stock market type of thing. You're selling high, you're buying low. You're selling high, you're buying low. At the moment, like earlier in the year, obvious. Randle was doing a million things that he never does. Anthony Edwards was out. He was never maintaining those top 10 numbers. Never going to happen. Right? We knew that. Now, we're in a stage where it's not good. He I've got him as a top 30 player for category leagues the rest of the season. I've got him as a 40-plus fantasy point guy. Over the last 2 weeks, he's 99th. Over the last 2 weeks, he's averaging 36 fantasy points. What's happening? And it's not just because Anthony Edwards is back, because Anthony Edwards has been back longer than that. He's doing the reverse thing. Usage down, efficiency down, defense down, everything down at once. His points, 18 points per game. Okay, I don't think that's a realistic number. But why is it down? How is it down? Is it because Anthony Edwards is back? Not really. Like, the usage is down 27 from the season. 27 is his season usage. He's at 25.5 over the last 7 games. But realistically, he's hitting 71 from the line. And you'll go, well, Julius Randle's just bad at free throws. Like, is he though? Is he? Because you, if you said that, you might think he is. But 81 this season, 81 last season, 78 the year before that. I would contend that he's actually good at free throws. He used to be bad, but he's good. And he's shown it for 180 games or whatever it is, that he's good. So it's a dip. It's not a permanent reversion. He's hitting 30% on his threes. He's at 36% this season. He was at 34 last season, 31 the year before that, 34 the year before that. Is he a 40% guy? No, I don't think so. But he's not a 30% guy. That's 4 percentage points. Add him on. He's twos. 57 this season, 56 last season, 54 last season, 55 the year before that. What's he down to? 50. Okay. Free throws, three-pointers, twos, threes, free throws, all down significant amounts. Means your scoring comes down. He's not a shot blocker. We know this. We know he's not a shot blocker. He has 1 shot blocked in the last 7 games. 1? Just give me 1 more. And honestly, then we're back on track. That's his numbers. And part of the reason he was flying earlier in the season is his steals and blocks were up. His assist numbers are bang on. His rebounds are fine. It realistically is he's just scoring fewer points. He's probably 4 points per game lower than where he needs to be, with worse field goals, worse free throws, worse three-pointers made. 53 true shooting. For as much as you might bag on Randle and hate on him, like 59, 57, 58 true shooting last 3 years, 62 this season. 53 is like horrendous. Again, the idea might be, of course, Anthony Edwards is back, so he's not as good anymore. But that's not it. That's not the reason. The reason is he just isn't shooting well. Every shooting part of Randle's game is in the toilet. Put that back to normal, and then you'll find the real baseline. Not a top 10 player, but not a guy who's barely a top 100 player. I think given Randle's reputation and history, and the fact how 9-cat rankings hate him, even though I think he's way more viable than that, you wouldn't need to give more than a top 50 player or top 60 player. In fact, maybe not even that to get him. Because people dislike him. No steals, no blocks, bad percentages, which again is just not true. If someone shoots 49 and 81 from the line, 47 and 78 from the line, they're not bad percentages. They are average to good. But the reputation is no steals, no blocks, bad percentages. Not him. Not a true statement about Julius Randle. But it persists as a descriptor for Julius Randle. Therefore, buy low. The last guy that we are going to talk about is our 9-cat loser. And I've referenced a few of these guys already in the show, the guys who the 9-cat rankings make them look way worse than what their actual production is. Yeah, Sengun was like barely a top 150 player in straight 9-cat rankings that get displayed on Yahoo. Brandon Ingram is my 9-cat loser for the moment. So, understand the players or the people that really, you know this in your group chats in your leagues, you'll see players go, oh, this trade's actually unfair because he's a 120th and you're talking about a top 30 player. And you'll be like, yeah, but those numbers are garbage, aren't they? Because Brandon Ingram's 169th, giggity, over the last 2 weeks for 9-cat rankings. My head-to-head category rankings have him 70th. And you look at his numbers and go, he's averaging 23, 5, and 3.5 with 1.1 steals and 0.6 blocks. I go, yeah, right, it's Brandon Ingram, right? That's pretty good. What are we worried about here? What are we worried about? 74 from the line is not ideal. I'm sure he's turning the ball over. Cool. But, like, to me, what Ingram is currently doing is just what Ingram does. He's a top 70, maybe top 50 player. who's going to have risk of injury. We know this. But like, what's actually so bad? Well, part of the reason that he's in this spot for a 9-cat rank, he's averaging 4 turnovers a game. And that's obviously really bad. That's a high number. He's at 3.8, or sorry, he's at 3 per game for the season. Right? It's pretty high for the player that he is. But it makes him look like that he is unrosterable with those current numbers. When he's at 23, 5 and 3.5, 1 steal, 0.6 blocks, 2 threes. Like, those numbers is what he's currently doing, yet a 9-cat rank suggests he's unrosterable. And I know you know that he's not unrosterable, but the numbers tell you that you should be considering that as unrosterable. Therefore, that's how you can make hay in a trade. I think that Ingram is a top 60 player rest of season. So he's underperforming a little bit. He might even be top 50, and then you throw the injury risk in there, I get it. But there is scope to use somebody's adherence to ranks to maybe get yourself a little bit of a bargain. I hope. Go. So, to recap. Who were the buy lows? Alperen Sengun, Shaedon Sharpe, Matas Buzelis, Jalen Duren, the double royal Julius Randle, and your 9-cat loser is Brandon Ingram. Hit the subscribe button on the way out. Thumb it up. We'll have a preview show for, I don't know what day? Tuesday. Preview show for Tuesday coming up, plus a big Monday recap. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. It's a hiccup. See ya.